As President Donald Trump marked the 100th day of his second term, the political landscape in the United States is showing signs of upheaval, with Democrats rallying to project a united front against his administration. From speeches to sit-ins, Democratic leaders are leveraging this milestone to reinforce their opposition to Trump's policies and actions that they believe threaten the nation's democratic principles. In a celebratory rally held in Warren, Michigan, Trump touted his administration's accomplishments while lashing out at former President Joe Biden and dismissing unfavorable media coverage. "We're here tonight in the heartland of our nation to celebrate the most successful first 100 days of any administration in the history of our country," Trump declared, emphasizing his contentious stance on issues like immigration and tariffs. He claimed that his administration is focused on job creation despite rising unemployment rates in Michigan, which have climbed to 5.5%, significantly above the national average of 4.2%. Simultaneously, the Democratic Party is attempting to capitalize on Trump's polarizing presence to galvanize their base. Representative Angie Craig of Minnesota announced her candidacy for the U.S. Senate seat being vacated by Tina Smith, framing her campaign around the chaos she attributes to Trump's leadership. In a video released on the same day, Craig highlighted her concerns about the president's policies, including tariffs and the influence of billionaire advisors like Elon Musk. "There's chaos and corruption coming out of Washington, crashing down on all of us. A president trampling our rights and freedoms," she stated, clearly positioning herself as a candidate ready to challenge Trump's agenda. Craig's bid comes at a time when the political calculus for Democrats is shifting. Her moderate stance has drawn criticism from more progressive members of her party, reflecting a broader struggle within the Democratic ranks to define their identity in opposition to Trumpism. Political analysts suggest that while Craig may appeal to centrist voters, she risks alienating the progressive base that dominates party primaries. Meanwhile, across the border in Canada, a recent election has drawn attention to the contrasting responses to Trump's influence. The Liberal Party, led by Prime Minister Mark Carney, secured a narrow victory amid a surge of anti-Trump sentiment among Canadian voters. Carney's campaign effectively framed Trump as a threat to Canadian sovereignty, leveraging his controversial comments about annexation and trade tariffs to rally support. "As I have been warning for months, America wants our land, our resources, our water, our country," Carney said during his victory speech. This sentiment resonated with voters, empowering the Liberal Party to make a comeback even after a challenging political climate at the start of the year. The outcome of the Canadian elections serves as a cautionary tale for U.S. Democrats, illustrating the potential for mobilization against a populist leader. Political experts argue that Democrats must adopt a more aggressive stance in opposing Trump if they wish to achieve similar success. Democrats appear to be unwilling and unable to use the tools at their disposal to hold Trump to account, stated Taria Jati, a political science professor at McGill University, emphasizing the need for a unified front against what many perceive as an authoritarian trend in American politics. As the Democratic Party navigates its internal divisions while confronting an ascendant Trump, the results of these political contests reveal the high stakes involved. The next few months will be crucial for setting the tone of the 2026 midterm elections, which promise to be contentious as both parties jockey for position amid a backdrop of economic uncertainty and shifting voter sentiments. In conclusion, as Trump reflects on his first 100 days, the Democratic Party is at a crossroads. With figures like Angie Craig stepping into the spotlight and lessons from Canada's recent elections echoing in the background, the Democrats face a pivotal challenge: to harness the current political climate and unite their base against a formidable opponent. The path forward will require a cohesive strategy that resonates with both moderate and progressive voters, emphasizing the importance of safeguarding democratic values in the face of rising populism. As the political landscape shifts and evolves in the United States, the focus is increasingly turning toward prominent figures within the Republican Party and their potential to shape the future of governance. Notably, Senator Josh Hawley of Missouri has emerged as a significant player embodying the complexities of modern conservatism while simultaneously appealing to the populist sentiments that have gained traction since Donald Trump's presidency. His dual identity as both a staunch social conservative and a populist voice places him at the intersection of traditional Republican values and the new direction the party seems to be taking. Hawley, who has consistently positioned himself against what he terms the woke agenda, has recently made headlines for breaking with party lines on issues that resonate with a broader base of American voters. One such instance occurred last month when he cast the lone Republican vote in favor of protecting consumers from bank overdraft fees. This unexpected alignment with a Democratic initiative underscores a growing trend among certain GOP members who are beginning to prioritize the needs of working-class Americans over strict party allegiance. In an interview, Hawley stated, "If the Republican Party is going to be a true majority party, we have to be pro-worker. The voters are giving us a chance now, but they've not bought in. We have to deliver." This populist approach is not without its critics. Some political analysts argue that Hawley's brand of populism is more about grievance politics than genuine economic reform. Hannah Gurman, a historian at New York University, noted, "You look at how Vance said he's for unions but not for the public sector or teachers. There's always a cultural program to use as an excuse not to advance a serious policy." Critics like Gurman suggest that while populism may resonate with voters, it often lacks a substantive agenda that truly addresses the core economic challenges facing many Americans today. Meanwhile, as Hawley navigates his role within the GOP, the Republican Party is also witnessing the emergence of figures like Representative Angie Craig from Minnesota, who has announced her candidacy for the U.S. Senate seat currently held by retiring Senator Tina Smith. Craig's political journey has been characterized by a balancing act. She has occasionally voted in favor of Republican initiatives, which has drawn ire from progressive factions within her party. Her recent campaign video starkly criticizes the Trump administration, highlighting the chaos and corruption she believes is emanating from Washington. Craig's nuanced positioning might appeal to centrist voters, but political analysts warn that it could jeopardize her standing in the Democratic primary, where the most progressive voters are likely to dominate. Tim Lindbergh, a political science professor, reflected on Craig's precarious situation, saying, "I think her biggest problem is that she is a good general election candidate, but she could face trouble in the primary unless she goes to the left." The dynamics of her campaign illustrate the broader struggle within the Democratic Party to reconcile moderate and progressive ideals, a challenge mirrored within the GOP as it grapples with its identity in a post-Trump era. As 2026 approaches, the implications of these evolving political narratives become increasingly significant. Economic concerns, particularly fears of a recession, are weighing heavily on the minds of American voters, with 82% expressing anxiety about the nation's fiscal stability, according to a recent poll. This sentiment could play a pivotal role in shaping the electoral landscape as candidates from both parties seek to address voters' concerns while carving out their identities within their respective parties. In this charged atmosphere, Hawley and Craig represent two divergent yet emblematic paths that highlight the ongoing evolution of American politics. As they both navigate their ambitions and the expectations of their constituencies, it will be crucial to observe how their strategies unfold in the lead-up to the 2026 elections. The outcomes of these races could very well set the tone for the future of the Republican and Democratic parties respectively, and offer insights into how politicians can effectively engage with the complexities of contemporary governance in the dynamic landscape of U.S. politics. Few developments can rival the intrigue surrounding the potential departure of Senator Michael Bennet from the Senate to pursue the governorship of Colorado. As he prepares for the 2026 gubernatorial race, Bennett's decision could spark a significant political shift in Colorado, particularly concerning the appointment of his successor in Washington, D.C. Should Bennett win the Democratic primary against Colorado Attorney General Phil Weiser and subsequently secure victory in the general election, he would need to resign from the Senate to take up the governor's mantle. This resignation would grant him the authority to appoint a temporary replacement to serve the remainder of his Senate term, which is set to conclude in early 2029. The prospect of this power has led to considerable speculation and maneuvering among Colorado's Democrats. all eager to position themselves as potential candidates for Bennett's Senate seat. Bennett's political journey began in 2009 when he was appointed to the Senate by then-Governor Bill Ritter, filling the vacancy left by Ken Salazar, who was appointed as Secretary of the Interior by President Barack Obama. This appointment was not without its complexities and challenges. Bennett, who at the time was the superintendent of Denver Public Schools, was one of many vying for the position. Despite his lack of prior electoral experience, his close relationship with Ritter played a crucial role in his selection. Ritter recalled how Bennett's ability to handle difficult discussions such as a contentious school closure meeting showcased his capacity for leadership and problem-solving. "He was really good to work with," Ritter noted, highlighting the personal rapport that had developed between the two over the years. Ultimately, Bennett's intellect and depth of knowledge on a wide range of issues impressed Ritter, leading to Bennett's selection in January 2009 despite the uncertainty surrounding his electoral viability. The backdrop of Bennett's appointment was marked by the political turmoil of the time, including the scandal surrounding former Illinois Governor Rod Blagojevich, who was embroiled in a corruption case related to Senate appointments. In this context, Ritter received assurances from President Obama that he had the freedom to choose his preferred candidate, a decision bolstered by advice from former U.S. senators. While Bennett was not initially on the Democratic Senatorial Campaign Committee's radar, he ultimately proved his worth by winning a competitive election against Republican Ken Buck in 2010, subsequently securing re-election twice. As Bennett gears up for his new political endeavor, questions arise regarding whether he will opt for a similarly unconventional choice for his Senate replacement should he ascend to the governor's office. Ritter's own experience as a political dark horse, appointed Denver's district attorney in 1993 despite a lack of political ties, may inform Bennett's decision-making process. In a parallel political narrative, the U.S. Senate has been active in confirming significant appointments, such as the recent confirmation of Tillman Fertitta, a Houston billionaire and owner of the NBA's Houston Rockets, as ambassador to Italy. Fertitta's extensive business background and commitment to fostering U.S.-Italy trade relations reflect a broader trend of appointing individuals with substantial private sector experience to pivotal diplomatic roles. With the backdrop of these unfolding political stories, Colorado's political landscape is on the verge of transformation. As Bennett navigates the complexities of his gubernatorial campaign, observers will be keenly watching the implications of his choices, not only for his own political future but for the broader direction of Colorado politics and the Democratic Party as a whole. The outcomes of these developments could have lasting repercussions, shaping the state's political framework for years to come. In a significant development in the political landscape of Arizona, a prominent trans advocacy group has announced its endorsement of Raúl Grijalva as the leading progressive candidate in the upcoming special election. This endorsement comes amid a broader push for representation and equity for marginalized communities, particularly in the wake of ongoing legislative battles over LGBTQ+ rights and the visibility of trans issues in American politics. The decision underscores Grijalva's commitment to progressive values and his track record of advocating for social justice. Grijalva, who has served as a U.S. representative for Arizona's 3rd congressional district since 2003, has consistently aligned himself with progressive causes. His recent support for comprehensive legislation aimed at protecting LGBTQ+ rights, including measures that specifically address the needs of trans individuals, has earned him the backing of organizations like the Transgender Equality Network. "Raúl has always been there for us," stated a spokesperson for the advocacy group. "His commitment to fighting for our community is unwavering, and we believe he is the best choice to represent all Arizonans." As the special election approaches, the political stakes are particularly high. The endorsement reflects a growing recognition of the importance of diversity within political representation. According to recent surveys, a significant portion of voters, particularly younger demographics, prioritize candidates who advocate for inclusive policies. This trend has prompted candidates like Grijalva to adopt more robust platforms that address not only traditional economic and social issues but also the specific challenges faced by underrepresented groups. Moreover, the endorsement from the trans advocacy group signals a pivotal shift in how political campaigns engage with identity politics. Political analyst Dr. Sarah Mitchell noted endorsements from advocacy groups are not just about boosting a candidate's profile, they are indicative of a broader movement towards intersectionality in politics. Candidates who embrace these values can mobilize support across diverse voter bases. The impact of this endorsement could be profound. If Grijalva secures victory in the special election, it could pave the way for more progressive policies at the federal level, particularly regarding LGBTQ+ rights. Furthermore, it might inspire other candidates to adopt similar stances on social issues, potentially catalyzing a wave of progressive representation across the country. As Arizona's political scene continues to evolve, the endorsement of Grijalva by trans advocates is a clear message that the electorate is ready for change. The special election will not only test Grijalva's ability to rally support but also signal the direction in which Arizona's politics may head in the coming years. With an increasing emphasis on representation and equity, the outcome of this election could have lasting implications for both local and national politics. As the election date draws near, all eyes will be on Arizona, watching to see if progressive values can indeed take root in the state's governance. In a landmark case that could reshape the landscape of education in America, the U.S. Supreme Court is hearing arguments concerning the establishment of the nation's first religious charter school, St. Isidore of Seville Catholic Virtual School in Oklahoma. This case tests the delicate balance between the First Amendment's clauses regarding the free exercise of religion and the prohibition against government establishment of religion, a balancing act that has become increasingly contentious in recent years. The core issue revolves around whether taxpayer funds can be allocated to a charter school that incorporates religious teachings. The Oklahoma Attorney General has argued that such an arrangement would contravene both state and federal laws that prevent public money from supporting religious institutions. Conversely, supporters of St. Isidore contend that excluding religious organizations from charter school funding constitutes religious discrimination, asserting that the school is a private entity eligible for public funding. During the oral arguments, Justice Sonia Sotomayor emphasized the role of taxpayer funding in public education, stating that the government is the actual creator of the charter school. She raised concerns about the implications of public funding for a school that hires only Catholic teachers and promotes Catholic morals. In response, Michael McGinley, the attorney representing St. Isidore, maintained that the school is not a government entity, arguing that the Free Exercise Clause protects its right to compete for government funding. Justice Neil Gorsuch highlighted the historical context of the case, questioning whether states have historically funded religious schools. His inquiry acknowledged that while there are instances where such funding has occurred, there are also significant examples where religious schools were denied funding. This historical tension reflects the ongoing debate over the interpretation of constitutional provisions as they apply in contemporary society. The justices probed further into the implications of funding religious charter schools, with Chief Justice John Roberts questioning the precedents that might support the Oklahoma Charter Board's position. He noted that previous rulings involved less significant state involvement in education, raising concerns about the comprehensive nature of the state's relationship with St. Isidore. Meanwhile, Justice Elena Kagan reinforced the argument that charter schools are public entities that should abide by non-sectarian requirements. As the arguments unfolded, concerns emerged regarding potential coercive implications for families who may find themselves with limited educational options if religious charter schools are permitted. Justice Samuel Alito sought clarification from the Charter School Board's attorney, who asserted that no student would be forced to attend a religious charter school, noting that families would have legal recourse should such a situation arise. The case has attracted significant attention not only for its legal implications but also for its potential to influence public education policy across the nation. If the Supreme Court rules in favor of St. Isidore, it could pave the way for similar religious charter schools in other states, fundamentally altering how public education funds are utilized. The Catholic Church views this case as a critical opportunity to expand its educational outreach, particularly in rural areas of Oklahoma where access to Catholic education is limited. Oklahoma Superintendent of Public Instruction Ryan Walters has publicly supported the initiative, asserting that excluding religious schools from the charter program is a form of discrimination. However, opponents, including organizations dedicated to the separation of church and state, warn that allowing religious charter schools would represent a dangerous shift in American education, potentially leading to taxpayer-funded religious indoctrination. Rachel Laser, head of Americans United for Separation of Church and State, cautioned that such a ruling would undermine the foundational principle of separating church and state. The Supreme Court's decision in this case, which may lead to a deadlock due to Justice Amy Coney Barrett's recusal, is likely to reverberate through the education sector and beyond. As the justices deliberate, the nation watches closely, aware that their ruling could redefine the boundaries of religious expression in public education and set a precedent for future cases involving the intersection of government funding and religious institutions. The outcome of this case may well determine the trajectory of educational policy in the United States for years to come.